Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To keep this podcast free, we're partnering with Stoke Seeds. Indoor seed starting is fun, easy, and economical. Now's the time to start your seeds. If you're looking to grow vegetable variety or add a punch of color to your flower garden, review the Stoke Seeds Starting Guide online. You'll find information about soil preparation, moisture, temperature, light, transplanting, and more. The Stoke Seeds website is a complete resource center you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Get growing with Stokes. Now, today's question. Fred, we had an email this week. It's Fred at planttalkradio.com. Came in from Linda, and she's having trouble with her amaryllis bulbs. Oh. She says they usually send up leaves, but no blossom stem, or they get a small stem and finally a wee bloom. New bulbs do the same for me. What do you think maybe she's doing wrong?
Well, I was formulating an answer until that last sentence. If the new bulbs are doing the same, then I'm kind of lost. There is one possibility, and it's, it's a kind of unfortunate to think about it, but it may have been bulbs that were not well produced in the first place. An amaryllis bulb that is going to be one or two stems of flowers and so on is at least on toward half to 2/3 the size of a baseball. Now, there's no absolute on that, except that bulbs are graded by size. You might be buying either from the wrong producer or a second, so to speak, in terms of bulb size and so on. Because when it comes back down to it, a person can reflower or cause the plant to reflower on their own. You bring it in anywhere from Christmas or before to now, and it flowers. I always leave the flower stem on after the flowers are gone because it is green and picking up light also. As soon as it starts to squeeze together, shrink up and so on, I cut it off. But then I keep the foliage, on the windowsill in my case, and I keep turning it 1/3 of a turn a week just so they don't go all one way. I put them in an east sun, assuming we get some sun, so that they don't stretch out too much. They stay short and stout, etc. And then in the summer, May 15, I go out and plant them in the garden, pot and all in most cases, because I don't want to have to mess around with it. I put them where they get, again, still morning sun. I just prefer that for the bulb, and that's also kind of the space I have. And I get them to reflower. Now, it's never quite as good as the original production. I don't give them enough fertilizer, and they are what we call heavy feeders. I would be using water-soluble probably once in the mid-April period to give them a good boost. Then when you put them out in the yard, May 15, or give or take a few days, I would fertilize again. You could put them, if you take them out of the pot, you can put them in soil that has had fertilizer mixed in it. But anyhow, you build a good big bulb, and then down deep in that bulb, flower bud is initiated. Now, so that being the case, odds are you're not getting them enough light or for long enough. Now, each day has only a certain length of time. If you could, and I don't, but if you could, you'd have a light bank above them so that you had window sun and then ceiling sun, if you will, from lights, and really keep them, highly lighted for up to 12, 14 hours a day. Now, it doesn't promise you anything, but it's certainly a better chance at it. So I think maybe you're either not getting them enough light, you may be cutting the foliage back or whatever a little too soon before it has died down. And by the way, it will die down, and or you can sometimes lift it, let's just say August or September, and let them dry down so they go into a rest period, then bring them back out toward Christmas and on. So it's a matter of they're a heavy feeder. You maybe have to just upgrade the fertilizer amount. I would happen in this case to use a water soluble, and probably every third week I wouldn't put it on any heavier than the label says, but every third week I would water them with a water-soluble fertilizer.
Well, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's say Linda goes out, buys a new amaryllis bulb. Talk about the planting and how you get those started.
Well, some come in their pot, Mark, fellow across from me. Let me try that again. They're in a pot, in a box, etc. I mentioned that their size is anywhere half to 2/3 the size of a baseball. That means they got a lot of sun. They grew a bigger bulb or a big bulb, and they should have set flower buds down in deep. Now, if you're not paying, let's call it a heavy dollar for them, $7, $8 sometimes, even more, for some of the big ones, you're probably not buying one that has a flower bud in it. Even though that would be the case, if you upgrade the care when you do have it, even though it put up a small stem, small flowers and so on, if you run that rascal through the rigmarole that I just talked about, you can, so to speak, help it or make it become a bigger bulb and enjoy the benefits of same. They're any bulb, and even though there are different kinds, so to speak, any bulb though that gets enough light, enough moisture, enough fertilizer, can live on if you do nourish them right, enough light and so on. The reason, and amaryllis probably are fitting into this quite nicely too, the reason that tulips are grown in Holland for the most part is they have brilliant, clear, sunny days during the growing period. The sun beats down on them, builds a bigger bulb, usually one, and on rare occasion, even 3 stems, 3 buds, and so on. Very good. They're going to develop for you and be good. Here in the U.S., we just don't get sufficient sun in length of day and as clear as they do in Holland. So try to give your amaryllis an upgrade in closer to the window without freezing it. Longer day length if you can put a high light, bright light from a lamp inside as well as the outdoor. And fertilize. I wouldn't start that, though, until within the month before you're going to put them out, because they'll tend to get long and leggy and flop over for you.
Thanks again for listening to the podcast. Remember, lose the winter blues and garden indoors. Start your indoor seeding with the help of Stokes Gardening Guide, plus their online articles. For the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to stokeseeds.com. Catalogs are still available. Cultivating successful growers for generations.